get heckled before I even start. Must be the hat. All right, I'm Jason Cole, and I'm wicked smart. I just moved here from Boston a few months ago, and I wanted to share my experiences and the lessons I learned from spending 12 years there and cheering for a bunch of losers known as the Boston Red Sox. Thank you. A few things you need to know about Boston. First, no one parks the car in Harvard Yard because it's closed to traffic. We would if we could, though, because the parking situation in Cambridge is retarded. The other thing you need to know is that from 1918 to 2004, Boston was a city under a curse. The Curse of the Bambino had all the elements of a tragedy from Shakespeare or Homer. The prideful hero sold out to the enemy, the inexplicable twists of fate that enforced the curse over 86 years, and an implacable evil force that terrorized the nation, or as you know them, the Yankees. Now, the thing you should be, if you're wondering why the fate of a sports franchise affects an entire city, you need to understand something else about Boston. In Boston, sports are life, and the Red Sox are a religion. A Bostonian may forget his anniversary or his children's birthdays, but he will always remember the day that Bill Buckner let the World Series roll between his legs. October 25th, 1986, by the way. My anniversary is sometime in April. It's impossible to live in Boston without being affected by this. So every fall, an entire region's sphincters collectively puckered, waiting for the next curse to show that New England was still populated by a bunch of losers. But then a bunch of self-proclaimed idiots came along and changed everything. The 2004 Red Sox were hairy, goofy, and talented. And they didn't realize they weren't supposed to win. They faced the machine-like Yankees, the best team that money could buy, and they beat them. Sometimes. Sometimes they made stupid mistakes and lost, but they always had fun. They kept winning and kept having fun into the playoffs. And then, again, in the ALCS, they met the Yankees. And there they lost 3 games in a row and were down 4-3, and we decided that it was time for the rally caps. We also were convinced that it was time to watch them lose again. But then Big Papi came along and he turned the game around. The Red Sox then won 3 games in a row, something no team had ever done, and they continued on to win the pennant. The World Series was almost anticlimactic after that, but I know that I, like every other New Englander, waited a good 30 seconds after the last out to make sure that God didn't call for a do-over before I started celebrating. But we did celebrate, because the curse was reversed. People danced in the streets, strangers high-fived each other from passing cars, and the Red Sox had to hold their victory parade in the Charles River to make room for all the crowds. So, what's the point of all this? Does a baseball team really represent an entire region? Well, in this case, yes. Boston's identity was tied to the fate of the Red Sox, and the curse clearly reflected a fatalistic assumption that a New Englander couldn't get a break. And that brings me to my first point. Curses are real. We all have curses spoken over our lives at one time or another by ourselves or others. You'll never amount to anything. I'll never find a spouse. You guys could never beat Microsoft. These statements become the metronome of our lives, beating a steady rhythm of failure and defeat and gaining strength with every repetition. They do have power, but they can also be broken. Just as rock breaks scissors, faith breaks curses. While the Yankees fans were wearing Moving on. Boston responded with a simple statement: we believe. Faith in yourself, in your team, in God has an enormous constructive power that more than offsets the destructive power of the curses in our lives. I'm not talking about putting positive energy out into the universe so that it comes back to you. Real faith is about seeing the good in your life and seeking more of it regardless of your circumstances. Now, depending on how your life has gone, that may seem like a foolish endeavor. Which leads to my final point. Sometimes it pays to be an idiot. Taking on the evil empire, and I am referring to the Yankees again, but metaphorically this time, seems like a foolish endeavor. The bad guys in our lives, whether they're overpaid athletes, huge corporate competitors, or evil stepmothers, are almost always bigger, scarier, and better equipped than we are. They're scary, and you'd have to be an idiot to tackle them. Discretion, as they say, is the better part of valor. But in these circumstances, sometimes it's better to stop worrying about what you're getting yourself into. Just charge in there, do your best, and enjoy the experience. Even if the evil empire takes this round, you'll know you had a lot more fun than they did, and you'll use what you learned to come back stronger next time. So grip your faith in both hands, fellow idiots. Go forth and break those curses. Be bold, be stupid, but most of all, be joyful. The rest will follow.